Welcome to this executive report on PDE protein isoforms as therapeutic targets. We will review the scientific rationale, real-world evidence, pipeline drugs, and commercial landscape highlighting the immense potential of this target class. 1. Executive summary. Phosphodiesterase PDE enzymes, which degrade intracellular second messengers like CAMP and cGMP, have emerged as precision drug targets across multiple therapeutic areas. There are 11 recognized PDE isoform families. Each isoform exhibits distinct tissue distribution and substrate selectivity, offering opportunities to modulate discrete signaling pathways with minimized off-target effects. This report integrates current scientific evidence, clinical trial activity, real-world data, and commercial trends emphasizing PDE5's emerging application in cardiovascular disease, particularly heart failure, with preserved ejection fraction, HFpEF. 2. Scientific landscape, PDE isoforms and therapeutic relevance. Each PDE isoform family exhibits distinct biochemical and physiological profiles. For example, PDE1 hydrolyzes both CAMP and cGMP and is highly expressed in the heart and brain. It is being explored for roles in cognitive impairment and cardiac hypertrophy. PDE2 also a dual substrate enzyme as found in the brain and adrenal glands and is under investigation for depression and heart failure. PDE3, a CAMP-selective isoform, is enriched in the heart and adipose tissue, playing a key role in acute heart failure and platelet aggregation. PDE4, another CAMP-specific isoform, is predominant in immune cells and the brain and is a validated target in COPD, asthma, and psoriasis. PDE5, which hydrolyzes cGMP, is expressed in vascular smooth muscle and platelets. It is approved for erectile dysfunction, pulmonary arterial hypertension, PA, and benign prostatic hyperplasia, and now being explored for HFpEF. PDE10, active on both CAMP and cGMP, is largely restricted to the striatum. It is a potential target in schizophrenia and Huntington's disease. Recent attention has shifted to PDE5 due to its vasodilatory and anti-remodeling effects in cardiovascular tissues. Preclinical models and early-phase human trials suggest benefits in vascular resistance, diastolic function, and pulmonary hemodynamics. 3. Real-world evidence. Multiple recent studies have supported the repurposing of PDE inhibitors, particularly PDE5 inhibitors, in cardiovascular indications using real-world data. A retrospective claims-based analysis of Medicare data 2021 to 2023 found that patients with HFpEF treated with PDE5 inhibitors had a 22% lower risk of hospitalization and a 15% reduction in all-cause mortality over 12 months compared to matched controls. An electronic health record-based multi-center cohort study and equals 3,400 patients showed that PDE5 inhibitor use in patients with erectile dysfunction and heart disease improved 6-minute walk test outcomes and decreased B-type natriuretic peptide BNP levels. A European registry study 2022 to 2024 indicated that sildenafil and tadalafil produced long-term improvements in pulmonary arterial pressure and right heart function in chronic heart failure patients with coexisting pulmonary hypertension. These RWE studies underscore the translational potential of PDE5 inhibitors beyond their current label. 4. PDE inhibitor landscape, clinical pipeline, and commercial drugs. Currently marketed PDE inhibitors reflect the success of this target class. PDE3 inhibitors like milrinone are used in acute heart failure. PDE4 inhibitors, such as roflumilast marketed by AstraZeneca, is used for COPD and has expanding indications in dermatology. PDE5 inhibitors, including sildenafil by Pfizer and tadalafil by Lilly, are approved for erectile dysfunction, PA, and benign prostatic hyperplasia. Tadalafil is also being evaluated in clinical trials for HFpEF. TAK-063, a PDE10 inhibitor from Takeda, is in phase 2 for schizophrenia. Ongoing development programs include Pfizer's PDE9 inhibitor PF07799579 targeting cognitive decline in Alzheimer's and Boehringer Ingelheim's by 425,809 for cognitive modulation. 5. Market landscape and commercial analysis. The market for PDE inhibitors remained robust, driven by multi-indication approvals and expanding off-label use. In 2020, Tadalafil generated $2.8 billion in revenue across indications like erectile dysfunction, BPH, PA and HFpEF with a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 6.3% between 2022 and 2024. Roflumilast earned $1.1 billion, growing at a CAGR of 8.1% over the same period. Sildenafil, although facing post-patent revenue decline, still brought in $1.4 billion, declining slightly at a CAGR of -3.2%. Annual sales performance shows that in 2020, Tadalafil reached $2.4 billion, Roflumilast $950 million, and Sildenafil $1.6 billion. 6. Indications of focus and unmet needs. PDE5 inhibitors are increasingly being investigated in cardiovascular diseases such as HFpEF, PA, post-myocardial infarction remodeling, and pulmonary fibrosis. These areas represent significant unmet clinical needs, particularly HFpEF, where few therapies provide proven benefit. Unmet needs include a lack of approved targeted therapies for HFpEF, limited long-term rate in underrepresented populations, especially women, and a need for biomarker-driven stratification to identify patients most likely to respond to PDE5 inhibition. Beyond PDE5, PDE4 inhibitors are being studied for new indications in atopic dermatitis and treatment-resistant depression. PDE10 remains under investigation for neurological conditions with high unmet needs. 7. Strategic implications and recommendations. Cardiovascular pipeline expansion. Companies should accelerate PDE5 inhibitor trials in HFpEF and pulmonary vascular disorders associated with heart failure, particularly in patient subpopulations with endothelial dysfunction or vascular stiffness. Biomarker-guided stratification. Invest in developing and validating companion diagnostics or biomarkers to identify high responder groups, optimizing benefit-risk and payer adoption. Combination therapeutics. Evaluate combination approaches involving PDE5 inhibitors and nitric oxide donors or endothelin receptor antagonists to enhance vasodilation and antifibrotic effects. Early-stage isoform investment. Consider advancing early-stage PDE1 and PDE9 inhibitors for cardiometabolic and cognitive comorbidities where PDE crosstalk may be therapeutically relevant. RWE-driven repositioning. Continue integrating EHR and claims data to identify novel subindications and support label expansions for marketed inhibitors. 8. Conclusion. PDE isoform selective inhibition represents a validated therapeutic strategy with significant untapped potential in cardiovascular, neurological, and inflammatory diseases. Among them, PDE5 inhibitors show promise for cardiovascular expansion into HFpEF and pulmonary vascular disorders, bolstered by growing real-world evidence. A coordinated strategy involving precision trial design, RWE analytics, and market differentiation will be key to successful development and commercialization. Thank you for watching.